Welcome to another episode of the Brazen Podcast. We are your hosts, Calley and Valerie. And today we are going to be talking about the direction that we are taking. You know, we're almost a year into this podcast, and that's crazy to think about. And so we really just want to clarify who our podcast is for, how we serve, and what we can offer. And then we're going to kind of dig into a couple of really helpful practical tips that are going to help you to be a better leader who's present and just fully embodied. And that way you're able to kind of really impact the teams that you're working on. So before we get into all of that, Val, what are you loving this week?
So I really have been loving giving myself a little bit of flexibility in my morning routine. I know that we talk a lot about morning routines, but one thing that has always been a big part of my morning routine is physical activity, but I've been pretty strict about kind of what I do. And it's always like, I have to do a minimum of 10 minutes of a HIIT workout. And now I've just been like, it just needs to be some sort of physical activity. So I've been able to kind of bounce between yoga or strength training or HIIT workout or kickboxing or whatever I feel like doing in the morning, as opposed to just kind of slogging through it, not super joyfully. And so I've just really loved like having that flexibility. So it made me kind of look at other areas in my morning routine and say, okay, can I like just say I need to do something like mentally stimulating instead of particularly like listening to a podcast, and just kind of see where I could build some choice into that morning routine.
I love that. That's kind of how I have to do things, because I have this just weird dynamic where I really need structure, but I get bored super quickly with kind of just having the same thing every day. So I kind of do a similar thing where I have categories almost of things that I do in the morning, and then a menu of different options like within each of those categories that I can choose from depending on my mood for the day. Yeah. So I love that so much.
Yeah.
So Val, do you want to kind of kick us off and talk a little bit about how far we've come in the last year and sort of what our main goals are right now for this coming year?
Yeah. So by the time you guys are listening to this, I think it will be our exact 1 year anniversary of the Brazen Podcast, which is mind blowing. I just remember recording our first couple of episodes and like even listening to them, like how nervous and like scripted we were in a lot of ways, and in just like how much more comfort we have kind of recording and how much we've like grown to love it. And so it's really fun for us to like look back through all of our episodes. But we did do a lot of sort of soul searching, and we've also just kind of paid attention to feedback we've gotten from our clients and also just from you guys as our listeners. And we've realized that the thing that we're both really passionate about talking about, and that seems to really resonate with our audience, is the topic of leadership. It's kind of where you and I very much intersect. And I personally, like when I coach primarily entrepreneurs, but I have a huge love of positive leadership and coaching on kind of management of people and just basically anything related to people in business. So, and you love to kind of talk about how people can build themselves up internally and so that they can become a better leader through self-care and through avoiding burnout and all of that. And so this just seems like a natural path for us to head towards. So our topics going forward are going to be very much leadership focused. And so we hope that you will stick around, but if it's not your topic, we totally get it. But we look forward to the next year ahead.
Yeah. And I love the fact that we're kind of focusing on leadership as opposed to building a career or entrepreneurship, because leadership kind of really, like, it bleeds into both of those areas.
Mm-hmm.
And so it doesn't matter if you are, more career focused and you're not super interested in starting your own business, or if you're on the other end and you're maybe looking to start your own business eventually, or you already have one and you're scaling and building a team. These topics are going to be really important for you to like build up not only your external person to person and like management skills, but also to do what you need to do within yourself, like kind of create that internal transformation that's going to build your confidence and emotional intelligence and empathy so that you can be a really effective leader. So that's kind of the direction that we are heading in over this next year, at least. And so we're really excited about all of the different offerings that we are preparing for you guys. And we have a Patreon subscription right now, and it's really focused on providing resources for women who are either already in a leadership role or looking to grow into a leadership role. So, for instance, for just $3 a month, you would get like a whole content directory that has all of our resources on a whole variety of topics, but they're like broken down by subject. So it's super easy to find and filter through depending on what you're looking for. And then in our middle tier, which is $9 a month, you get the content directory, but then also you get some extra perks. And the biggest one being the Brazen Book Club. It's a little bit different than a traditional book club. Like we're not reading books together, but what we're doing is we are taking leadership and professional and personal development books. We are reading them and we are kind of breaking down, what are the key takeaways? How's the readability? What did we like? What did we not like? And we're giving that information to you. So it's like, we're reading the book, so you don't have to. Then you can then, decide if you want to read it yourself or kind of start your own little book club within your team so that you're all growing together. And then the top tier, which is $25 a month, includes group coaching. So this is a really valuable resource if you are really serious about growing into your leadership role and really flourishing in your leadership role. So what we do is we take the topic of the book that we did the book club on that month, and then we discuss it together as a group, and we sort of break down the main points and kind of talk about different ways to implement that. I kind of would be able to give my perspective from, like a personal development side. And then Valerie can chime in also with her experience and expertise on the actual management piece of it. And you're going to really have the opportunity to grow for yourself, build a community of fellow women who are in leadership, grow your skills, and get coached by us as experts for like $25 a month, which is a really good deal. So the only thing with that one is that it is a limited number of spots available, just because we want to make sure that the conversations are really meaningful and productive. So if that is interesting to you, make sure that you sign up for it sooner rather than later. Otherwise, we will have a wait list available once it does fill up. But anyway, let's talk now about 6 different ways that you can work on transforming yourself into the most effective leader possible. So let's start first with the interpersonal piece. So managing other people. Valerie, what do you think 3 of the best things that they can do for themselves in that area would be?
So I think the first one is just developing your growth mindset around the people that you work with, not just for yourself, but around your teammates. I think that you as a leader need to go in with a positive and optimistic view about your staff and the people that you're managing and leading. I think if you don't feel that there's any growth potential, or if you don't feel that people are there to do a good job, then you're going to constantly kind of just be looking for all of the mistakes that people are making, and it won't foster a very healthy work environment and will ultimately make it very difficult to manage. Number two is to work on your communication as a manager. This, even if you have really excellent communication skills as an employee, when you become a manager or a leader, your words have a lot more weight. So you have to be very mindful of the amount of time you spend listening and absorbing and just active listening with your staff, but also just recognizing that things like sarcasm or using really strong words are going to hit a lot different